If you've been in the internet for long enough, then you know how it's like to watch a YouTuber you absolutely loved a decade or so ago, only to forget them eventually as time passes. And when you come to them to relive the good old days for nostalgia's sake, you see that their last uploaded video was a long, long time ago. But at the very least, you can still rewatch their videos for nostalgia's sake. In a typical music group or band, an influential member leaving will still be able to keep their name and their prestige. Their old work will still remain, and people will still be able to consume them or follow them easily in the future if they choose to remain in the industry, but VTubers? They don't get to have any of these luxuries all the time. As a VTuber fan, especially those of corpos, you most likely are afraid of this announcement format, especially if it's in Japanese or a language you don't understand, even to a point of overreacting when the word graduation is used by anyone. Hell, not even that. Any kind of announcement stream a VTuber pulls up is going to sink the air, so much so that they have to clarify whether it's good or bad news. While some VTubers' old content will still remain after they graduate, a lot of them, especially if they are terminated, get completely wiped out. Fans are unable to look back to their good old days. All the memento of your fun times with that VTuber is your memories or very popular clips. It's a practice among many corpos that I, and I presume many others, absolutely despise. Of course, there are times that such agencies can leave the deletion of their content to the VTubers themselves, and surprisingly, a lot of VTubers do opt to take down their content when they are gone, but the enforcement of this principle is rather inconsistent, really only selected to the few who gets to leave in the best of terms, and it's an option that's not exactly available to everyone. That in itself isn't so ideal. It feels like a complete and utter waste of all the work and effort they've put up until that point. Even if it was a termination, even if they had a good reason to be exiled out of the company. Throwing all of that hard work away because it's a contractual obligation that somehow the corpos won't update. It just doesn't make sense to me. And the worst part is finding these VTubers in the next life. Right now, it's very easy to find the new incarnation of popular VTubers in the big corpos because they are likely to be an open secret. Their reappearance is going to be loud. But most of the time, there's a taboo in VTubing when it comes to reincarnating. When an old VTuber incarnates, there's this hush-hush culture where it's socially forbidden to discuss the past life of a VTuber you used to like anywhere. It filters the casuals, and casuals are unfortunately the majority, making it so that they would rather watch someone else that is readily available in their own space and home community or agency, instead of following an old VTuber they used to like as closely as they did back then. Tell me, for any old VTuber you used to really like, when they re-debuted as someone else in another culture or company, how many of them whose streams do you still watch consistently? How many of them whose clips do you still actively consume? How many of them have you truly, wholeheartedly supported all the way? Not just in superficial ways like petty lip service, but actually support them. Buy their merch as they used to, donated and follow them as actively as you did. Of course, we will all have our kamiyoshis that we will support everywhere they'll go. But I imagine we also have more graduated VTubers that we used to really like that we won't even bother actively looking for anymore. As I've said, a lot of us have settled in our home communities. Taking that extra step, spending that extra energy to go out to another community or culture to look for familiar voices, that's a hard sell for most. Most people aren't going to bother anymore unless the content makes their way to them, making it so that the VTuber who graduated has to put up twice the effort to not only re-establish a new fanbase, but to also try to get their old one to find them if they want them back, especially if they are contractually obligated to not disclose who they once were. And in this regard, we can ask which really matters more to VTuber fans, the person behind the VTuber or the character and the content itself, the kayfabe. A lot of you would most likely say that the person behind it matters. After all, if the voice of your favorite VTubers get replaced, you'd most likely be seething and throwing a fit. Such was the case of the Game Boop Project and Kizuna Ai. Yet, why is it that when certain VTubers graduate, a majority of their fanbase doesn't actually follow them to their new incarnations even if they know who they are? Whether they become indies, part of a group, someone else entirely. Why is it that when a VTuber graduates and resurfaces as an indie or something else, they feel off? Even if they are the same person, with the same personality and the same gimmick, you don't find the appeal that they used to have in their new incarnation. I want you to think about that long and hard again. Is the person behind the VTuber more important or the character and the content? I can't speak for you, nor predict what you are going to think of because we all have our own thoughts on the matter. I'd like to be enlightened by what you think too, so drop your 2 cents in the comments because there might be that one VTuber you followed over the years regardless of which company and community she incarnated into, making you strongly think the person is what matters. It might even be a pill you are unable to swallow. Maybe you'll remember that you said you'd support a certain VTuber wherever and whoever she is, but found yourself no longer doing so. My own conclusion is that we fell in love with the character portrayed by the person but not necessarily the person itself. We like the kayfabe and the content more, but we want that kayfabe and content produced and presented by the person we are familiar with. In general acting, people can don the mantle of our favorite characters, but in the context of VTubing, people will have the soul and the voice of the VTuber be the only voice and the soul of that character ever. Changing or replacing it is something of a cardinal sin in the part of the agency. Yet that does not necessarily mean that we love the person behind them the same way we do the character. Some of us, sure, but most of us, I have observed, we don't. That is my own thoughts, and you are free to have your own, even if you think I'm wrong. The word graduation is a means to sugarcoat a regrettable incident, even in its roots under Japanese idol culture, but such incidents are inevitable. All VTubers are going to graduate someday, and I'm not talking about it in the same realm as people dying someday, but I'm talking about a decade or even a few years, sometimes even mere months. To see our favorite VTubers saying that they're severely ill already inflicts a mounting dread. To see our favorite VTubers' friends crying out of nowhere already invites paranoia. To see our favorite VTubers gradually upload and stream less and less already makes us scared. Because those are just 3 of the many signs that perhaps a graduation is coming. That is a trauma of graduations. To see our Oshis leave with their hard work being wiped, the difficulty of trying to find them again, and the prospect that we won't like their new personas as much as we like the old one. Not just that, the pain and trauma of graduations goes so far and deep that a casual VTuber fan will still feel the pain when a certain VTuber they don't know graduates. That being said, it's not all doom and gloom. Graduations aren't all that bad sometimes, not just for the streamer but even for the fanbase. When a VTuber graduates, that could mean that they have a new career path that they are happier with. That just means they are prioritizing their health, that they'll be better off. And that is a small solace to have, especially when you like the person more so than their kayfabe. Not just that, but the graduations of a small corpo or indie VTuber you used to really like could mean the beginning of a very successful career. They could be joining a VTuber agency, getting into places and platforms where their talents and skills as an entertainer can be showcased, a place where they can truly shine. Sometimes we like the VTuber that they become more than the VTuber that they used to be, and graduations allow for that to happen. In a totally different environment, a VTuber who used to be so bland and boring can become one of the most fun and creative people that can exist. Graduations are a catalyst for change as a content creator, for better or worse. It could be a means to realize their potential and to let other people see that potential. And ultimately, my thesis is that it's not necessarily a bad thing despite the negativity that overwhelmingly surrounds it. It can be a good thing too. It just really depends on the VTuber that graduates, where they are going, and the fans that they have. Ultimately, people forget that VTubers are people too. Their behaviors, their likes and dislikes, their stances, their dreams in life, they're not absolute. They age, they experience, they change, and graduations are just a part of that process. Admittingly, I think most of us are not going to follow our favorite VTubers for as long as we think we would. We won't actually support our favorite VTubers as much as we think we can, because in a couple years from now, all they will be is a memory. Our priorities will change. We will like other content creators, we will gain responsibilities. We grow up too. But what we can say for sure is that our Oshis have perhaps changed our lives. Whether they have inspired us to improve ourselves, whether we needed an escape from the harsh realities of life back then. Even if they're just playing a character, what we feel, how they affected us, and how they will stick with us are. So while they are still here, let's have fun with our Oshis. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. It's a bit more serious and not so lighthearted, and it might have been a bit too parasocial and some people might find it cringe, but I imagine a lot of people also resonate with the sentiments I've expressed in this video. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed, and if you'd like to support me, liking and subscribing will do great. Anyway, that's it. See ya.